Winning an argument feels kind of impossible sometimes, right? Well, let's break down how it's not only achievable, but it's a skill you can actually build. But here's the secret. It's probably not in the way you think about it right now.
Oh man, we've all been there. You're in a debate, you're making your points, everything feels logical, but the other person just will not budge. It's like talking to a brick wall. It's so draining, it's frustrating, and honestly, most of the time, it just feels totally pointless.
So, why does that happen? Why does so many conversations end up there? Well, a lot of the time, it comes down to how we define winning. See, if your goal is just to crush the other person and force them to admit you're right, you're basically setting yourself up to lose before you even start.
And this right here gets to the heart of the problem. This traditional way of arguing, it turns a conversation into a battle. When your only mission is to prove you're right, the other person's natural instinct is to put up their defenses. Their walls go up, they stop listening, and you end up in a total stalemate. Nobody learns a thing, and you both just walk away, annoyed.
But what if there's a totally different way to do this? To find it, we're actually going to travel back in time, way back, over 2,000 years, to ancient Greece. We're going to take a look at the playbook of a philosopher named Socrates, who had a completely different and frankly, way more effective idea of what it means to win.
Yeah, check this out. For Socrates, an argument was never a battle. It was a team project, a collaborative search for the truth. Now that is a massive shift in thinking. When you adopt that mindset, the whole dynamic changes from a fight to a shared exploration.
And the way he did this is what we now call the Socratic method. Instead of just stating his own opinions as facts, he would ask these really thoughtful, humble questions. And the point wasn't to trap somebody, it was to help both people really dig into why they believe what they believe. It's not about telling, it's all about asking.
Okay, so getting into that Socratic mindset, that's the first huge step. The next one is learning how to spot the logical traps that can completely derail a conversation. You can think of these like conversational landmines, and just knowing what they look like is your first line of defense.
And these traps, they have a name: logical fallacies. It's a pretty simple idea, really. A fallacy is just a bug in someone's logic. It's a flaw that makes their point fall apart if you look at it too closely, even if it sounds good on the surface.
Let's look at a classic example you've definitely heard before, the straw man. So you make a pretty reasonable point, right? Like, hey, we should probably invest more in public transit. But instead of talking about that, the other person twists your words into this extreme, kind of ridiculous version of your argument. So what, you want to ban all cars? See? They built a fake, weak, straw man argument that's way easier for them to knock down. Here's another one you will see all the time, the ad hominem attack. It's Latin for to the person, and that's exactly what it is. It's when someone completely ignores your argument, in this case the data, and they just attack you instead. Your character, your motives, anything but the actual point. It's a total dodge.
So, you spot a fallacy. Or maybe things are just starting to get a little heated. What do you actually do? The key is to not fight fire with fire. Instead, there's this simple 4-step process you can use to bring the temperature down and get things back on a productive track.
Okay, here it is. Step 1, listen. And I mean really listen. Not just waiting for your turn to talk, but listening to understand. Step 2, acknowledge. Find something, anything, you can agree with or validate. Even if it's just, okay, I can see why you feel that way. Step 3, inquire. Get curious, Socratic style. Ask questions like, can you tell me more about that? And finally, step 4, reframe. Gently bring the focus back to a shared goal. Look, I think we both want to figure out the best solution here, right? This sequence, it is so powerful.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground. So let's pull all these pieces together and build a simple, powerful toolkit for having the kinds of arguments you can actually win using our new, much better definition of winning, of course.
So, what's in our new toolkit? It really boils down to these 3 things. First, you've got the Socratic mindset. You're looking for shared truth, so you ask questions, you don't just make statements. Second, fallacy spotting. You get good at recognizing flawed logic, so you don't get sucked into it. And third, de-escalation. Use that listen, acknowledge, inquire, reframe process to keep the conversation productive. These 3 things, used together, can totally change the game.
And you know, if there is just one thing you take away from all this, I hope it's this. The real win in an argument isn't about forcing someone to completely change their mind right there on the spot. No way. The true win is just making progress. It's when both of you can walk away with a slightly better, more complete understanding than you had before you started. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. The next time you feel a disagreement brewing, just ask yourself this one question. What would happen if you went into this not as a fight to be won, but as a puzzle you're trying to solve? Together. What if your next argument was actually a collaboration?